Welcome to your daily dose. My name's Robert. It's my pal Susan, who's confident and happy in her space when I'm happy for her. I wanted to talk about the space that we occupy within Yes and Exercise called Day One.
Mm.
We've talked a lot about it here. You are a graduate of the first program that I ran. I recently completed a second version of it. Broadly, it's a narrative-based program helping people reassess what their storyline is, their narrative, how they believe living with Parkinson's is for them, based on the fact that most people, in my experience, and the feedback seems to back this up so far, the data we've received, don't really take the time to assess what it means. There's a shock, the call to adventure when it happens, the diagnosis, and then there's just catching up. And you tell me, having gone through it, what's the value in taking assessment of your story in a very traditional and tested throughout the thousands of years, as a hero's journey has been, structure to see yourself as a hero within your own journey? What's the value for you?
I got to start at the beginning of that. the fact that it has lasted thousands of years, that it's like a part of our anatomy. It's that second nature to us. The notion that you're sort of stunned by something, and then you maybe you deny it, and then there's still the reality that it's still there. So all of those steps are things that we've all experienced in greater or lesser ways. You get a cancer diagnosis, you get a Parkinson's diagnosis. All those steps are deeper. There's more to like overcome. And so what happened, the reason I'm not jumping straight to the superhero part of your question is that the other stuff is what gets you there. So when you take the time, as we do in Day One, to look at each one of those steps, what happens as I no longer have the choices and the opportunities and the options in my ordinary world? Really true with Parkinson's. Lots of stuff gets taken away from us. So what happens? How do we respond to that? What do we do about that? We meet people.
Yep.
We're tested. We're really tested. And the way you structured the Day One program included writing, and the writing was a phenomenal opportunity to really self-explore. I had a phone call with cousins a couple hours ago in which they were saying, you've always taken care of everybody else. And I said, I see that now.
Mm-hmm.
I see. They said, you didn't take time for yourself. And I said, it's because of the writing that I did last year in the Day One program, that I was examining each one of those things that happens in life in any given circumstance. And then when you find it was in there, right? I didn't go purchase it at the local commissary, it was in there, but I had to get other stuff out of the way before I could really touch it, feel it, old voices in my head, things like that.
I loved one of the early things you said there. You talked about the nature of us being storytellers, right? Built into our DNA. It is how we make sense. The brain patterns, we know that. And so storytelling is just another form of organizing patterns, right? This is a way that Joseph Campbell, the architect of the hero's journey as we understand it now, has analyzed and seen these are the steps over and over again. And the particular model we use, credit Chris Vogler in a Hollywood terms, because modern day storytelling is visual for the most part. Not that people don't read or listen. However, the most popular form seems to be TV and film. And time and again, there are those steps over and over again. And you're right. These are ways that we make sense of the world. And if we don't take, here's what came up today in conversation with BJ, one of our participants. There are passive and active characters in fiction and storytelling. We know them. The active ones are always more interesting. It's the same with life. If you let life happen to you as a passive character, from a narrative standpoint, it's boring. If you take control to the degree you can, right, have the influence you can, that's interesting. So I think that's kind of a sum, and it sounds like you're having that effect on yourself, is to be an active character in your heroic journey.
Yes, I love that. that. And we get to define what we are, who we are as an active character in another conversation.